Welcome to Town Talk, the official podcast of Summerville, South Carolina, where we bring you the latest news, events, and interviews with people who make our town special. I'm Chris Makowski, the Public Information Officer for the town of Summerville, and your host for today's episode. In today's episode, we're thrilled to have Cassie Ford, the Tourism Director for the Greater Summerville/Dorchester County Chamber of Commerce. Cassie plays a vital role in promoting Summerville as a must-visit destination and supporting the local tourism industry. We're excited to learn more about her work and the attractions that make Summerville a great place to visit. Welcome to the show, Cassie.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm really excited to bring you in and just have a conversation to talk about tourism and your role. And let's start there. Can you give our listeners and me a little bit of background on who you are, what led you to your role, and what led you to Summerville?
Yeah, so I've lived in Summerville for most of my life. I moved here with my family when I was a teenager. I started my career as a self-taught graphic designer and marketer about 12 years ago, and that work led me to take a position at a local nonprofit where I served as a communications director for a few years. And for the past 6 years, I've been running my own business as a freelance marketer, working with various clients, one of which being Visit Summerville. And I had the pleasure of working with Tina Zimmerman, the previous tourism director, for a couple of years. And when she retired in August, I was able to take on the role, and I've been really grateful and excited to have the opportunity to serve our town.
Yeah, I love that. So you've been in the role since August?
Yeah.
So how has that transition been? Has it been easy? Has it been, a lot to learn? How's it going?
It's interesting. It's been a lot to learn, yes. So the marketing part for me is the easy part, but it's been the learning our history and learning everything that Summerville has to offer as a destination compared to being a resident. I think that when you have to make such a perspective shift, there's a little bit of a learning curve there. And of course, I started doing that with Tina a couple of years ago, but really diving into it, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you talk about the mix of the visitors and the residents. Summerville has a lot to offer our visitors.
Yeah.
Can you dig into that a little bit more, what the town and the overall area has to offer visitors coming from even downtown Charleston or outside the state?
Yeah. Let me put it into perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
So our state, it's a very desirable place to be in the Southeast. South Carolina just had a record-breaking growth year with an estimated economic impact of $29 billion. So travel and tourism is a big deal in our state. And with that said, Summerville is uniquely positioned. Like you said, we're not far from Charleston, just 24 miles outside. We're a short drive to the coast. And we're like 25 minutes or so from places like Magnolia Gardens, Middleton Place. And so there's a reason that we like to say that we're at the heart of it all. So zoom in to Summerville. Last year, I'll just throw out some fun numbers.
Yeah, I'm all for numbers.
Yeah, just to kind of show you the interest that Summerville brings. We mailed out nearly 4,000 information guides to people who requested to learn more about us.
Wow.
We saw nearly 6,000 in-person visitors, which was 37% increase from the year before. So there's a lot of interest there. And so as far as attractions go, Summerville really does have something for everyone. The great restaurants, so our foodies love to be here. We have historic downtown, over 700 homes and buildings on the National Register of Historic Places, the flowers, the gardens, antique shops, events and festivals, golfing. We have our museum, breweries, wineries, places to shop. There really is, just so much.
Yeah.
The people who like to be outside, there's the Ashley River, there's, colonial Dorchester. I could keep going.
Yeah, and that's what's amazing about our town is there is something for everyone.
Yeah.
Whether you want to relax and just enjoy the weather and enjoy nature,
yeah,
we have that here.
Yeah.
Or if you want to get, into the more recreational side, our Parks and Rec department's continuing to build pickleball courts because that's the popular sport right now.
Yeah.
And that's what's unique about it. And
for sure.
I think that's what brings the visitors here to check it out.
Yeah.
And so in your role currently, what are some initiatives that y'all are taking to really promote the town of Summerville to folks that maybe have never been here?
Yeah. So, okay, as a marketer at heart.
Yeah.
I like to get nerdy about the numbers.
Yeah, of course.
As we've seen. And especially knowing that it's making an impact. So one of the most recent initiatives that we've been really excited about is our grant-funded social media ad campaign. It's a new strategy for us, and it's going really well. This is something that the goal is to build awareness of ourselves in the surrounding states and to gain some more of those leads by way of those mailed out information guides that I mentioned earlier. And so far that campaign has been running for about 7 weeks or so, and it's had over 1 million impressions. It's had 24,000 link clicks or more, and it's brought in over 500 of those leads. And that's just within a span of 7 weeks. So that's really, really exciting. I've been really happy with those results. And so another thing that I'm excited about is a new community partner engagement initiative. So, and we do several of these, but for example, for the last 2 summers, we have partnered with the Summerville Bed and Breakfast Association to promote their porch stroll. And typically it's in the summer. You can come and sit on the porches, and you drive by these houses and you're like, wow, wouldn't it be nice to just sit there and sip some tea and take a stroll through their garden? And this gives you the opportunity to do that. But this year they are going to mix things up a little bit, and they're going to do a holiday stroll.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I won't give away too many of the details and surprises yet, but you're definitely going to want to get some tickets for that if you like old homes and Christmas time.
Yes, and it kind of reminds me of, I usually, my family and I will go to like the Biltmore during the holidays and look at the lights, and if we can bring that here in Summerville,
totally.
That would be really
yes,
cool.
It's going to be really, really neat. Super memorable. I think, you could probably even gift this to somebody, or if you have family coming into town, it would be really fun to plan something around that.
Yeah, and I want to circle back for a second for our listeners who might not understand our social media ad campaign that you're running.
Yeah.
We talked about the impressions and post clicks. Could you just explain that a little bit more for our listeners who might not understand what the importance of that campaign is?
Yes. So it's like break down what those things mean, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
What it means and what exactly this ad is. Is it Facebook, Instagram, and all that stuff?
Yeah. So it is a Facebook and Instagram ad, and it's got several pictures of our town from several different angles, being Charleston's younger sister, the birthplace of sweet tea. We'll touch on that more later. And the copy on it, the wording, really talks about being the center of your low country experience. And so this ad has gone out to North Carolina, some parts of the upper state, Georgia. I think that's it. But yeah, so the surrounding states, and a lot of them have heard of Charleston. So I'll talk about the impressions part. So sometimes, when you are scrolling on Facebook and you see an ad, you might see it more than one time.
Yeah.
So let's say you see it 2 times, that means that counts toward the number of impressions. They have another metric that they use to measure called reach, and I didn't bring that number with me, but the number of people that it has reached is a certain number, and then if some people have seen the ad more than once, then that will count toward your impressions.
Okay.
Link clicks, so that was about 24,000. It's more now since I've checked, but that's people who've clicked on the ad and visited our website, which is
24,000.
Just in the last
amazing.
7 weeks. So very cool. Our website is very important. And then the leads. So that is the people who have gone to our site and clicked on the button that said, I want some more information. And that could be for relocation purposes or just planning a visit.
Yep. And that's the Visit Summerville site, correct?
Yep, visitsummerville.com.
So in a nutshell, it's a virtual newspaper ad in a sense.
Sure, yes.
To
a nutshell.
simplify it.
Yeah.
It's crazy, for folks who are listening, our listeners, it's crazy to see where our marketing is nowadays and how we put a lot of effort into that social media and digital media side of it versus what used to be with TV and newspaper, which are still important depending on the aspect. But when you talk about the numbers that you received off the social media, I mean 24,000 clicking the link in neighboring states. It is awesome.
And I will say that we do utilize print ads. And they've been very important too. So, not knocking print, but digital has been awesome. for this campaign. So.
Yeah, and that's really awesome to hear. And you work for the Chamber of Commerce here in the area, correct?
Yeah, I'm contracted by them. Yep.
So what do outside of your role, what does the Chamber of Commerce do for our town and for our county?
The Chamber really just supports all of our businesses. I mean, they are such a great resource for education, connection, and I mean, just they support our businesses in ways that business owners, probably didn't even realize that they needed until they joined and, got that camaraderie and, the education and the information that comes along with being a part of the Chamber.
And it's really, it's a good thing to have our own chamber here in the area, and not every town has that. Mm-hmm. And the fact that we do, it's awesome because it really does help our businesses.
Absolutely.
And it keeps things organized, and it's a lot of support.
Yeah.
And connection.
Yes.
And it's awesome.
Vital.
We talked about this in our past episodes, and we'll continue to talk about it. But Summerville is just like the rest of the Low Country is growing. Mm-hmm. And that is due to our beauty. That is due to the people that live here and that establish themselves here and that call this place their home. And people are like, oh, I want to be a part of that, and they move here.
Yep.
But it's also built off of tourism.
Yes.
It's built off of folks who have vacationed here, or maybe they vacationed downtown and they've come up here and they're like, well, I don't really want to live downtown.
Exactly.
But Summerville's, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a sweet spot.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of my story, right? Mm-hmm. I'm from Pennsylvania, and I vacationed with my family here since before I was born. They came to the Low Country, and eventually I moved here because I loved it. With that, there's challenges. Mm-hmm. What are some challenges you envision within your role and just maybe, in your own opinion, moving forward?
I would say, speaking to the growth side of the challenges in tourism, it would probably be our traffic, which we've talked about before on this podcast. Well, not we, but you. Yeah,
in our previous episodes, I think as every episode now traffic has come up, and I think it'll continue to come up in every episode.
We're going to kind of just say it before everybody else does. We know the traffic needs some help, and I think everybody's doing a great job at moving forward in the right direction with managing that. So
in our last episode, Councilwoman Garden-Schmidt really talked about what the council is doing, looking at how we're going to handle the things we're currently doing to better our traffic, and that she reiterated that this is something that they are continuing to look at or looking at every day to how we're going to better it. So that's awesome to hear.
And I think it's important to know that, your town hears you, tourism hears you when you say, why are you bringing people here? Why are you telling people about us? We have bad traffic. I know.
Yeah, no.
But it's gonna get better.
It will. And outside of traffic, what other challenges are you seeing?
Yeah, so I think one of the most obvious challenges that we're facing is, and everybody feels it, is the impact of inflation. And there's been an increase in travel-related costs, and our cost of living in general has gone up. But the interesting thing about that is more people plan to travel compared to last year. They want to get out of their house. Yeah. And so they're going to go out, but they're going to be a little more careful with their budgeting. They want a little more bang for their buck, which is understandable. We all do right now. Yeah. So for us, that means a couple of things. The first is we just need to be sure that we're consistent in positioning ourselves as a really good home base in comparison to our neighbors who might be a little bit pricier. Yeah. Our location near Charleston and off the interstate helps with that.
Of course.
So, and then the second thing is we just need to continue to highlight and offer experiences that are budget friendly and still exciting and memorable. So just, staying in front of our people and our guests and future guests with opportunities for that. Yep.
Yeah, so in a nutshell, folks are still going to travel here.
Yeah.
They still want to come to the Low Country.
Yep.
What you are trying to do
Mm-hmm.
is basically say, listen, we know our neighbors are a little bit more expensive.
Yep.
If you come here, you're still close.
Yeah.
But we still have a lot to offer here as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, you could go out at night, don't have to travel downtown and have the same experience maybe at a restaurant, you know, here in Summerville.
Right.
And
Stay here. You can take a day trip, you know, if you need to surrounding locations just to feel like you've gotten the full Low Country experience.
Yeah.
But Summerville is a great home base. You can eat here, you can sleep here, and play here too.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, inflation definitely is an issue I think all of us are feeling, and hopefully it slows down, and hopefully it kind of evens itself out in the future. But you know, it was interesting to hear from you that even with the inflation, people are still like, I'm traveling.
They are.
I'm getting out. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to take a vacation with my family.
Yeah.
And so it's really good to hear that you are in front of that, and then also thinking about strategically,
Yeah.
you know, how are we going to quote unquote market ourselves with that.
Well, and then there's also the angle of staycation. So there might be a lot of people here in Summerville who are just like, hey, I want to really take advantage of everything Summerville has to offer this summer. What can I do?
Yeah.
And so being a resource for that is my goal.
Yeah, and that's awesome to hear. And we talked about, I think we touched on it earlier in the episode, a bunch of different things that we could do here in Summerville.
Yeah.
What are some really unique things that you know of, maybe off the cuff, that are just like you have to do?
Yeah, so let me see. I would say we're the birthplace of sweet tea.
Yeah.
You know that. So I would say a have to do is you need to go see Mason. Mason is our tea container who broke a Guinness Book of World Record.
Yeah,
there we go.
I think you got it.
For being the world's largest sweet tea. He held 2,524 gallons of sweet tea. So you need to go find him next to Town Hall, grab a picture.
Of course.
And then I would say another thing you should probably plan to do is take advantage of our Sweet Tea Trail. So the Sweet Tea Trail is a little guide that is full of things to do, places to see. It's a tea-centric way to play, eat, shop, and see some of the sights of Summerville. And as you go and do each of these things, there's a way to get a stamp put in your guide. And when you rack up so many stamps, you can trade those in for prizes up at the visitor center. So super fun, great way to see Summerville.
That's awesome. And the Sweet Tea Trail, that's really cool. And you go to the visitor center. Let's talk a little bit about the visitor center. Where is the visitor center? And what, you know, anyone who, I mean, even a resident looking for something to do, where do they go, and what is the offer there?
So the visitor center is at 402 North Main Street. And you can go there as your first stop in Summerville, or if you're local, it's a great place to check everything out, because you might really not know everything that Summerville has to offer. So chat with the ladies there. They will tell you the places to get the best barbecue, the places to go fishing, the places to see all the sites that you want to see. They can tell you about the events that are happening in town while you're there, and they will serve you some complimentary sweet tea.
Ooh, okay.
Yes.
So if you want some free sweet tea and some, you know, really good advice, I would recommend going to the visitor center. And
yes.
I know while I was up there's a bunch of brochures and stuff too, right? So folks can really they can walk away with some physical brochures,
maps, all good stuff.
That's helpful. That's helpful.
Yep.
One thing that I want to touch on a little bit is there's for a better use of terms, this thought that tourism, not everyone's a fan of tourism.
Yeah.
You know, I want to touch on that a little bit. Okay. What does tourism have to offer our homeowners here and the people who have made their lives here? Yeah. Why is this so important?
Yeah. You know, tourism supports so much of our economy, our infrastructure, our businesses and jobs. It really when you zoom out and really look at it, to say that you don't like tourism is maybe you don't have the full picture.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would encourage you to maybe try to get the full picture. Summerville, we have hospitality in our DNA. We have been sharing Summerville as a destination, a getaway, a resting place since the early 1900s, even a little before that, like with the Pine Forest Inn and the Squirrel Inn, all the inns. So as much as we would like to keep Summerville a hidden gem, I would propose to say that it never was.
No, it's a good point. Yeah, I think our town was built off of visitors.
Yeah.
And folks looking at the hospitality side of it, because our town was founded off of folks who lived in Charleston.
Yeah.
And they wanted to get away.
Yep.
From the mosquitoes and the hot weather.
Yes.
So they came up here to Summerville.
Yep.
In this area. Well, it doesn't really make a difference nowadays, because it's still the mosquitoes and hot weather.
Right,
but
yeah.
back then, it was a huge difference.
Yes.
And it was founded off of that. So it is, you have a good point. It really, it all was born off of visitors and tourism and the hospitality side of things. And it keeps things going as well, because we want to share. We want to show people why our town is so special. And as a resident here myself, I love showing it off. If anyone wants to come to the town and check it out, this is my hometown.
Yeah. We have a lot to be proud of.
A lot to be proud of.
Yeah.
A lot to be proud of. So that's really encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
You as the tourism director, I'm kind of looking future now. What is your thoughts on the future of tourism here in Summerville, and what are you and the rest of the chamber doing to prepare for that, and what's kind of y'all's thoughts on it?
Yeah. So I would say, growth here is inevitable. We've talked about that.
Of course.
It's great for our economy. It's all the great things. And at the same time, I also understand that there's a balance to preserving Summerville's small town feeling and our legacy, and that's part of the draw to come here. One way that we can do that is by telling our stories. We want to preserve that small town feeling. And, I really want to preserve the heart of Summerville. That really is what makes us so special. We have incredible stories to share through our community, our history, our culture, our small businesses. And there are so many ways that we can do that, so many mediums, strategies, all that good, fun stuff. But I just feel like, when our guests come here, they might pick up a fun fact, but if they can learn about why it matters and leave impacted long after their suitcases have been unpacked and they've learned something about Summerville or the South in general, maybe they're from up north, that's a beautiful thing. And so I would like to see us continue to expand in ways that explore new markets. There are people who don't know about Summerville. I would say that we can offer new tours, new types of tours.
Oh, good idea.
Food is a big deal. Breweries and wineries are a big deal. There are so many ways to share our stories through these mediums of food and culture and all of those things that I already mentioned. And, I would just like to see us explore more of those avenues. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds a little nebulous, but that's the heart of it.
Yeah, no, it makes sense, because I think every single individual in the municipality and anyone that lives here, they don't want to see Summerville come something it's not. Right? It is that town that has its feeling, right? It has its small town vibe, and it's the flower town in the pines.
Yeah.
And we want to keep it, continue to have its better use the term, vibe.
Yeah.
And so with that though, how can we continue to look at offering that growth in tourism without, taking away that culture?
Yeah.
I think the good way of
There's a balance.
there is, and
Yeah.
it's a challenge, and your role is difficult because that's the part of your role
Yeah.
is looking at that balance.
And I would say that I don't know it all, right? So, and if anyone says that they do and they have the perfect solution to this, they're probably lying because truly this position lends itself to collaboration and listening 100% from business owners, visitors, residents, community organizations. You have to be willing to take it all in and take every perspective into consideration when you're talking about adding something like a new tour. It impacts people, it impacts our community, and it's also a benefit to people who come.
Yep.
So, striking that balance is really important. And so I would say there's opportunity for growth there 100%. And it's just a matter of listening and kind of going where the greater good sends you.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and it's definitely an interesting topic, and I think it's something we could spend all day going back and forth and talking about. And in a nutshell, it's I feel like we're very fortunate to have someone like you in your role that looks at this every single day and looks at how it impacts our residents, how it impacts our visitors, and looks at trying to figure out the best happy medium. And so very fortunate to have you in this role here in our town looking at that. The town itself does have a lot to offer, and maybe we could we talked about the food, and I'm a big foodie, so I'll continue to talk about the food. You guys probably will be sick of listening to me talking about food by episode 10, but we have awesome food here in Summerville, so I feel very fortunate. Outside of our future plans and kind of the what's next, for anyone who is someone that doesn't live here and listening to this podcast, what tips do you have for them? And this is a two-part question.
Okay.
What tips do you have for the residents and folks who live here on maybe things to do and attractions, and how to, what are better times to avoid, something, because it's going to be busy because a lot of people use it.
Yeah. Sure. So let's see. We'll start with a visitor. So, residents too. If you haven't gone to Public Works Art Center as a resident, you need to. And visitors, it's a great place to check out. They have about 2,500 visitors a month come through, and they are a nonprofit community art center, and they are just making a really great impact in our arts and culture scene. And I love what they're doing there. So I would say that they're a great place to stop in. They're free, located downtown. Another thing, locals and visitors, I think the farmers market is a really fun way to start a Saturday morning.
It is.
It's right behind Town Hall, and I just think it's a great way to start your day. Get some good coffee and some snacks, and then hit up downtown, and then make your way outside of town a little bit, not outside of town, but the outskirts of town. So maybe go to Colonial Dorchester, or if you like to be outside, grab a kayak and get on the Ashley River, go fishing. We have self-guided tours. So there is a Walking the Ville history tour that's just downtown history. And then there's a historic homes tour. And both of those, like I said, self-guided. You can find it all on our website. There's places where you can listen to each stop and kind of just get a tour, almost like you have your own tour guide with you.
That's really unique.
Yeah. So just learn something about Summerville. And I would say for our residents, you probably haven't seen Summerville this way yet. I think it's really fun to play tourist in your own town. So I would encourage you to do that for sure, especially now before it gets too hot.
Play tourist in your own town. I
Yeah.
love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I think that's something I probably need to do myself.
Yeah.
And I think anyone should in their hometown is play the tourist for one day.
Yeah.
See what you can do, because you'll find that there's a lot more to your town
Yep.
than you know.
And there's a lot for families too. So if you are a mom this summer and you're trying to figure out what in the world to do with your kids this summer, hit up our website, check out the blog. There's one post on 27, I think it is, free things to do in Summerville, and that's a great place to start.
Actually, I went to that article the other day because I was trying to figure out plan things to do with my daughter.
Yeah.
And that was like, she's 14 months now, so she's getting that age where she's so interested in just the smallest, most incredible things. She looks at a tree and it's like, oh, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. So that article is really helpful. Do you guys on your website, do you offer a bunch of different articles and stuff like that are really helpful?
Oh yeah. And the plan is to continue to build out that content to be a resource, but there is a lot there now. So you definitely could plan a weekend or a week in Summerville just from the website. And if you have questions, you can always call the visitor center.
That's awesome. And I'll provide that information in the bio for the listeners. You guys can click on the link. I'll provide the link to that article too, since we talked about it.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And then the number. The farmers market, to touch back on that, I love the farmers market myself. I go every Saturday. I grab my boiled peanuts and get some bread, and always kind of look at what different vendors are there. Usually it's the same, but they're the good ones that I'm always getting something from every Saturday.
Summerville staples.
Exactly. And I hate the months that they're not out there, because it's like, what do I do on a Saturday morning?
Well, Coastal Coffee Roasters hosts a winter market. And obviously you don't get all of the fresh produce, but there is something over there.
There's something to be had every Saturday.
Absolutely.
Every Saturday.
Events and festivals all the time.
Outside of everything we talked about, I guess to bring this train home, I want to ask you a question. You have, as a tourism director, I don't want to get you in trouble, but what are your top 3 places or top 3 things to do here in Summerville in your vision?
Okay, so if it was a perfect day for me personally, I would say Public Works is up there for me.
Yeah.
I really do love Public Works. I love art. I would say grab lunch at Five Loaves.
Five Loaves.
I love Five Loaves. And then, goodness, I like shopping.
Yeah.
So I would probably hit up downtown Summerville. Short Central has some really great little shops in there. I'm the kind of person who likes to, it's ironic, I like to not have a plan. I like to have very loose plans.
Yeah.
And so for the planners out there, I'm sorry. I like to have a general idea. So if something catches my eye, I'm going to probably just wander. So I would say I would just kind of wander around downtown for a bit. Grab some tea somewhere, grab an ice cream from Garen's. Yeah. Hang out by the fountain.
Hey, there's always something. I'm the same way. I'm a more spontaneous type of individual, and I will usually just put myself in an area and see where it leads me, And so I'm the same way. But there's outside of Garen's and Five Loaves, there's so many different places you can go, and it's crazy. And I think y'all's website does a really good job at showing all that, and so I recommend our listeners to spend a good hour going through your guys' website, and seeing everything they have to offer, and kind of make a plan on what you guys want to do.
Absolutely.
Outside of that, Cassie, is there anything else for the sake of this conversation that you would like to add for our listeners?
I would say thank you to our residents. Y'all are the reason that Summerville is so sweet. You bring the Southern hospitality and the charm to this town. Architecture is nice, but without the people around,
Absolutely.
it's cold. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, and that's a really good message that needs to be said more. Our residents and the people that live here.
Business owners, the
Yes.
the faces and the front lines.
That's
of,
what brings people here.
Yeah.
It's it's those family business, it's those family restaurants.
Yeah.
It's the people that work there, the owners,
Yes.
the servers.
Our bed and breakfast hosts,
Yes.
even our hoteliers. I mean, they're residents. They're Summervillians. So
Yeah, and I recommend any of our listeners, if you just go to look at reviews for different areas and places, just pick your favorite spot in Somerville. Look at their reviews on Google, and just the common thing you're going to see is compliments on the people.
Yep.
And that's just a reminder of the type of community that we have here.
Yeah.
We have fantastic people who care about their home, who care about the people that live here, their neighbors.
Yep.
And I think that's what keeps Summerville thriving. And I think that's why we all love being here.
I agree.
But that said, Cassie, I really appreciate you taking the time and joining us today and sharing your thoughts and insights on Summerville's tourism and the future of it, and kind of sharing a little bit more about your role and how the listeners and individuals can be more, interactive with our town.
Yeah. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.